Hello you guys, today I'm going to show you how to make my gluten-free hi-hat cupcakes. These are the most extraordinary cupcakes. They start with a chocolate cupcake base and marshmallow meringue is piped in a dramatic swirl on top, and the whole thing gets dipped in a chocolate coating. Let's get into it. Okay, we're going to start with my all-purpose flour blend, and this is 375 grams or 2.5 cups. And to that, I'm adding 132 grams or 1¼ cups of unsweetened cocoa powder, 2¼ teaspoons of baking powder, 1½ teaspoons of baking soda, and 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to switch to a small whisk and whisk this together just until it's all combined. You can also use a sieve and then just sift it right into another bowl. Okay, in my stand mixer, you can also use a handheld mixer with this. I have 3 large eggs that are at room temperature. I'm adding to that 420 ml or 1¾ cups of milk, also at room temperature, and 180 ml or 3/4 cups of canola, vegetable, or any other neutral oil, a tablespoon of vanilla extract, and 550 grams or 2 3/4 cups of granulated sugar. Now I'm just going to start this on low and just combine it briefly. I'm not looking to really homogenize anything. I'm just looking to start it out. Now I'm going to dump in all of those dry ingredients that we sifted together earlier. This is such an easy recipe, you guys. It is literally the best chocolate cupcake I've ever had, chocolate cake I've ever had. And I will never look for another recipe because this is it. I've made many cakes, cupcakes, everything with this recipe, and it never fails me. And it's so easy. So we get this started on low, and then I'm going to drizzle in 300 ml or 1¼ cups of very hot, near boiling coffee. You can also use boiling water if you would rather, but I find the coffee really intensifies and brings out that chocolate flavor even more. All right, once all the coffee has been added, you can mix this for an additional 1 to 2 minutes, and that's all you need. It is a very loose batter, and we're going to pour it into our cupcake liners that have been placed in our cupcake tins, and we're going to bake these at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 25 to 27 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. And while they're cooling, we'll go ahead and put our mixing bowl over a pot of about 1 inch of simmering water. And to that, I'm going to add 300 grams or 1½ cups of granulated sugar and 6 large egg whites that are at room temperature. And we'll just start whisking these together while the sugar melts into the egg whites. And this will become like kind of white and translucent. But you want to be gentle about the cooking, so make sure that the water is not boiling. It can be simmering, and make sure that the water isn't touching the bottom of your bowl. This might be touching the very bottom of this bowl, but it's got that lip. It's the KitchenAid bowl. You know what I'm talking about if you have one. It's got that lip that prevents it from doing that. Now, this should reach either 160 Fahrenheit, or if you touch it in between your fingers, you will not feel any more sugar crystals present. And I do both just to make sure I have the temperature right at least 160. And I touch for those sugar crystals, because sometimes I will still find sugar crystals in there, and you don't want those in there or you won't get a nice smooth meringue. So we get this on the stand mixer, and we love stand mixers for this reason, because you can kind of walk away a little bit. You can do these with the handheld mixer as well. You'll have to stand there and hang on to it, and it'll take a little bit longer because it's not as powerful. So I'm going to speed up the video here until we get to about medium peaks. And I'm not even going to lift the whisk out of the bowl. I'm just going to judge it by how the meringue looks. And to that, I am adding 1½ teaspoons of vanilla and 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar. The cream of tartar stabilizes the meringue and keeps it nice and firm and stable for dipping into the chocolate later, which is what you want. Okay, so this is good to go. You want a nice stiff meringue. And it might be hard to see in this video because I don't have a lot of room always to show you, but this is a nice stiff peak if you can see it. There might be a little overhang, but that's okay. It is still a nice stiff meringue. But another way to tell is by flipping the entire bowl of meringue over, and that will give you an indication. I'll show you that in just a second. I've got my piping bag set in a large tall glass, and that'll just make it easier to fill. But here's my bowl of meringue, and as you can see, I'm tipping it upside down, even like kind of shaking it around, and the meringue goes nowhere. So just fill your piping bag, and like I said, if you put it in a glass like this, it makes it so much easier to fill, especially when it's something like meringue that's really sticky, or something that you're gonna have to fill your bag pretty full. And you probably will have to fill the bag a couple of times for to load up all of those cupcakes. So here's our chilled cupcakes, not chilled, but they're nice and room temperature, and I'm just piping a nice dramatic swirl on top. I'm holding the bag perpendicular to the top of the cupcake and just going around in a swirl, and let it be nice and tall, because these aren't called hi-hat cupcakes for nothing. I mean, that's where they got their name, from this dramatic swirl. It almost looks like soft serve ice cream. So get those into the fridge for at least 30 minutes to firm up and chill, and we'll go ahead and get our chocolate coating made. And this is 680 grams or 24 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, and 120 milliliters or a half a cup of vegetable or canola oil, grapeseed oil, any kind of neutral oil. And I'm putting this over the same pot of simmering water, that 1 inch of water, and I'm just going to let it gently melt. Now, this is actually high quality. It's Calais that I'm using. They look like chocolate chips, but they are Calais semi-sweet chocolate. You can use chocolate chips, however. And this is nice and melted, and we want to make sure that it's pretty much at room temperature, because otherwise you're going to get cracking. If the chocolate is hot and the cupcakes are cold, you will get cracking. So I'm just pouring some of this. It's not all going to fit in my tall glass, but it's in the very same glass that I used to fill my piping bag. And it looks scary, like it's going to all fall off, but I'm telling you, it will not. Just flip over the cupcake and dunk the entire meringue part into that chocolate. And we don't want to like tap it on the side or anything like that. You want to make sure, I'm going back in here because I see that some of that meringue did not get coated. So just let the excess drip off. And there is another way to do this that is surprisingly, look at this. Look at how good this cupcake looks, huh? I mean, what can look better or taste better than that? But I'm going to show you this way. This is what I learned in one of my candy making classes I took. When you're trying to get excess chocolate off, you actually dip the bottom of the piece, or in this case it's the top, back into the chocolate, and all of that chocolate will like be attracted into the bowl of melted chocolate. If that makes any sense whatsoever, it really does work. Look at these cupcakes though, you guys. Come on. Is this not the most luxurious looking chocolate cupcake? And let me tell you, the taste is incredible. The textures, you have that little bit of crunch from the chocolate coating, and you bite into it and you've got this soft marshmallow-like meringue, and the cupcake itself is just the chocolatiest of chocolate cupcakes. You never know it's gluten-free. It's soft, it's light. These are so, so good, you guys. I hope you get a chance to make these, and I really hope you enjoy them. They can be made in different flavors and variations, and I have all of that on my website in the blog post. Enjoy.